Good evening from the United Kingdom. My name is Adimiko Adile, and I am a Mastercard Foundation Scholar studying food security in the University of Edinburgh. And I'm pleased to be here with a couple of Mastercard Foundation Scholar as well, Mirabel Mora, who is a University Mastercard Foundation Scholar from the University of Edinburgh as well, and Joyce Sibley, who is from the University of McGill, that's Canada. So the purpose of this call is to have a clear orientation about Mastercard Foundation Scholarship in both the University of Edinburgh and McGill University. So if you're not applying for these universities, I would just advise you to stay connected still, because you're definitely going to use the information to apply for some other scholarships as well. Yeah. So right about now, I'm just going to bring on Mirabel to introduce herself. Mirabel, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ademiko. Well, Ademiko and I are maybe next flat neighbors. While he's upstairs, I'm somewhere downstairs. So my name is Mirabel Mora, and I'm a Nigerian. I'm currently one of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars at the University of Edinburgh here, also studying entrepreneurship and innovation. So I'm in the business school, and um, I'm also one of the two Mastercard scholar reps for the University of Edinburgh here. And aside this, in my outside of school life, I'm a motion designer. I really love to work with a lot of young people who are in the creative field, either getting them access to school fees, funding, or giving them, scholarships that they can use to attend events. I'm really, really passionate about things around the creative space and the social enterprise space. So I practically work in communications and motion design, and linking that to the business school and trying to see how people build proper systems. And if you don't, even if you're working on a charity, if you don't make money, the people that you're trying to help the next year, they won't be alive. So that's pretty much a background around myself. Thank you, Ade.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mira. I believe Joyce will be joining us soon. All right, let's just continue. So the purpose of this call, I think I've mentioned it earlier, is to understand the structure of the application to these two universities, the University of Edinburgh. And mind you, the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship is a fully funded scholarship. Whenever you hear Mastercard, please just embrace them, because they are really giving us much. I mean, myself and Mirabel went on a first retreat to another city not long ago. I think that was last Sunday, which I wouldn't have even thought about going for that trip if I was here alone, or maybe I even came here on a school scholarship, or any other thing like that. So that shows how beautiful Mastercard Foundation Scholarship is. So not to even talk of the stipend, the university. So it's quite interesting. So Mirabel will be putting us through on the application structure, and yeah, then we would see if Joyce will come in, then talk more on the University of McGill, or McGill University, afterwards. So Mirabel, could you just give us the structure of the University of Edinburgh, the application to Mastercard Foundation Scholarship? Yeah.
And not the application questions yet, right?
Yeah, not the application questions yet. Thank you.
Okay, sweet. So as we all know, this is okay, not as we don't all know, but the University of Edinburgh, this is about the second phase of the scholarships that they will be giving out for master's degrees and a lot of young Africans to come to the University of Edinburgh and study different things. And in a nutshell, the application is currently ongoing right now. So the application for Mastercard scholarships at the University of Edinburgh opened on 23rd of October. And then by the 1st of October, you are supposed to have already completed your registration to the scholarship site and also completed your eligibility and assessment declaration. So what this means is that the process is first of all, you already start your application, and then you have to go through an assessment portal first to decide whether you are eligible for the scholarship. And if you're not eligible, then that's when you don't proceed to the next step, because that whole process wouldn't let you go beyond that if you're not eligible to the scholarship. But if you are eligible, after you go through that assessment and eligibility declaration session, you can then proceed to the next aspect, which is then the main application. And it asks you a lot of questions around your leadership experience, why you also want to study at the University of Edinburgh, and also different things like that. And but you have to first complete that assessment phase before 1st of September. And finally, the applications end totally close by 7th of December. So we're already on 11th November. So this is about a month, less than a month before the applications close. By early February as well. So the scholarships are both for online, people who want to study online, and people who also want to study in person in Edinburgh. So by early February, you would already have your interviews. Someone had asked me, do I need to come to the UK to do my interview? Absolutely not. You just stay in your house, chill, and if you get to that next stage, you'll be invited to an interview online. So early February, on campus people will be invited. Shortlisted people will be invited to an interview. Then by mid-February, the interviews will take place, and also by the end of February, it will also be the you by the end of February you'll know whether you've been selected to the interview selection or not. And a similar process is also the same for people who also want to study online. So their timelines are also close to the same timelines of in-person interviews, but it's pretty much about the same thing.
Yeah.
And what's the eligibility? Okay, first of all, what scholarships are there? What courses can I offer? Well, there are several courses you can offer, and while I would not be mentioning all of them on the call, but you can make sure that you can go to the website and check all the courses. There's the course on Africa International Development, there's food security, there's entrepreneurship and innovation, which is what I'm doing. There are also a couple of new courses that many people in my set, my cohort, are not offering. There's planetary health, there's environmental sustainability, operational research. But one of the core reasons why these courses are there is that this year, this next phase in particular, the University of Edinburgh's Mastercard Foundation team is really focused on sustainability. What kind of courses, what kind of knowledge can we give to young Africans or Africans who are doing really, like giving back to their community? How can we help them to gain knowledge on more sustainable issues, climate issues, even business issues, and how they can, make their social enterprises or business or non-profits more sustainable around, the work that they do back at home. So like Ademiku said, you are fully supported. If you get the scholarship, you're fully supported from the Mastercard Foundation team holds your hand strongly from in my time, even before the interviews, they let us know what they were going to ask, and so that really helped us prepare a whole lot. And they also had an online session around how to answer the questions that you're going to be asked for the interview. Like how many scholarship givers do that?
Let me cut you from there. That happened yesterday actually. So if you didn't join that info section, you can actually go to the university website, or it's they said they're going to post it on the YouTube channel. So you can just browse the University of Edinburgh on the YouTube channel, or Mastercard Foundation for the University of Edinburgh on YouTube, and you're going to get it. So yeah.
Well,
Okay, thank you so much, Mira, for that. So we're going to be hearing in details how the essays are going to go on, and how many questions, and how you're going to apply successfully, or how you're going to craft your essays. All right. So If you have any questions, please be taking note of your questions. So we're going to be asking, we're going to be taking your questions afterwards. Now we have Joyce here. Joyce, we've been mentioning you right from the start. So, but it's really good to have you now. So, Joyce, if you don't mind, can you unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and yeah, let people know um, who you are, where you're calling from, and yeah, let's have that first. Okay.
Hi. Hi, everybody. My
Hi,
name
Joyce.
is Joyce Selby. I'm from Ghana. I'm not so well today, so I'm a bit, my voice may be a bit low. Pardon me, but yeah. My name is Joyce Selby from Ghana. I attended Ashesi University for my undergraduate. I was a business administration student, and I'm currently studying Master of Public Policy at McGill University. And yes, so for do I just dive right into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
scholarship?
You could just tell the audience. They want to know what is the application structure like. Do I have to apply for the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship first, or do I need to maybe email someone, or all of these things? Yeah.
Yeah, so for once you have the link to the scholarship application, all the information you need is there. I'd really advise that you read, like take some time to read, go through the eligibility criteria, go through the various courses, read about the courses, read about the scholarship as well. And once you've made a choice on like the school, like the program to apply to, sorry, you first of all apply or respond to the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship. So there are some essays you need to respond to. Once you do that, it gives you have to submit the essays or you have to submit the application for the scholarship before you are given the fee waiver to apply to your school. And so even though it's advised that you work on the two at the same time, if you haven't submitted your Mastercard application, it's not advisable you submit the application for the school. So for the Mastercard scholarship, there are 6 essays in all. I'm not going to read them out, but I would advise that you have a look at the prompt. And one advice I would give is that once you are applying, don't look at the questions as an exam question, because I've been reviewing some people's application. They tackle the questions like they are an exam. So the question says, share your, let's say, your leadership experience, for instance, right? And you just give answers to it. But they will want to know you in very limited words, right? So almost everybody will share, of course, like I'm sure so long as you're applying for Mastercard scholarship, you've been a leader before, you've been engaged in your community, you have the experience. But actually being able to communicate that, to show leadership, right? It's not just about the answer. That is why I would advise that you take time to reflect as well. So you may have the experience, but communicating it will be the problem. So take time, reflect on what you have done, and highlight, show the essence of the leadership experience. This is just one of the examples. But then, in general terms, I can't speak to each and every one of the essay questions, but all I'll say is that don't answer the essay questions like you're in an exam, and then if the question says list ABC, you just list ABC. Show your experiences through your answers. And I will also say that, like, give thoughtful responses, because like your word count is very limited. Given the chance, everybody can write on and on and on about everything you've done, right? But in very limited words, you should be able to highlight why you need a scholarship, highlight why the program you've selected is the best fit for you, right? So that would be the general overview of like how you should approach your essay questions. And get somebody to review your essays for you, because you know yourself, right? And you may think, oh, what you're communicating makes sense. But until someone else reads it for you, you wouldn't realize that there is a part of the essay that doesn't really make sense to the reader. But because you are familiar with what you're reading, it makes sense to you. So get somebody to review your essay for you. I wouldn't promise I will be available to review your essay, but then so long as you have like a trusted person to review your essays for you,
Yeah.
that is fine.
Joyce.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I cut you from there? So
Okay.
so we just want you to talk about, okay, now I want to apply for the McGill University now. So what is the first step I need to take? You've mentioned that you need to look out to the website and read the course details, read about Mastercard, just like Mira has actually said as well. So so what are the steps that I need to take? So do I need to apply to the university? Okay, yeah, you mentioned that no, you have to apply to the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship first, right? And then, if I got you right, there's going to be a fee waiver to then apply for the scholarship, to then apply to the school, which is quite brilliant. I think we had the opportunity of being paid for our own English test proficiency as well. So yeah, so
For McGill, sorry, but I have to chime in before I forget.
yeah.
For McGill, so long as you studied in English, you don't need an English proficiency test. Once you gain admission, they would require you to send your like proof of graduation. And so long as the study mode was in English, you don't have to take any like English proficiency test. So if that is a demotivating factor for you, don't worry, McGill doesn't require that.
Yeah, that's nice. So, do you think after I've applied, I've submitted my application, is there any pause in between? Do I need to have an interview? Do I need to, or I just get selected, or what? What do you think the application is?
So it depends on the course. I'm a Master of Public Policy. For Master of Public Policy, the reason why I'm saying you should do the scholarship application like concurrently as you're doing your program application is that for Master of Public Policy, the deadline is ahead of the Mastercard deadline. And so even though you have to wait till you submit your Mastercard application, you need to be working on your program application at the same time so that you don't miss the deadline. Because why would you submit your application to Mastercard if you haven't even applied to the program? So just make sure you don't miss the deadline for your program. That's why I advised earlier that go through the various programs, look out for the requirements for each program, or like look out for the requirements of the program you want to apply to, and note the dates. Some of them may be earlier than the Mastercard application. But once you apply, I think application closes either ending of this month or for my program, but then it closes early next month for Mastercard, if I'm not mistaken. Once you apply, between the application time and like February, you probably wouldn't hear from any of them. But the program gives you the decision first. So I got my MPP decision first, and then the program. So if you are shortlisted for your program, then you wait for the Mastercard decision. But most likely, it's not guaranteed you get both, right? So you may get your program, but then Mastercard may have their limit. So pray for the best. Yeah. And once you get your program decision, you wait for the Mastercard. I think it took like 3 weeks for the Mastercard to also send out their decisions, and that is it. So by ending of February, everybody should have had a decision whether you got in or not. And yeah, I think from there are steps to take, but let's focus on the application process for now.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Joyce, for that detailed information. Yeah. So, Mirabel, do you have anything to chip in between? Possibly a question or something?
I think that it's good that when people are listening to this, you take note.
Yes.
Joyce is in Cambridge. She's in a different university.
McGill.
McGill.
Sorry, McGill. You're in McGill. I am the one that is in the. I'm in the UK and I'm in Edinburgh. So while we're both under the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship, please note a couple of processes are different. So while I speak, I'm speaking about Edinburgh, and Joyce is also from McGill.
Yeah. That's
very true.
yeah. Thank you. Thanks so
And
much.
you asked about interviews. For MPP, there are no interviews, and so it's just the essays. It depends on the essay you write, your statement of purpose, and yeah. But then I know for other programs, at least for the food sciences, not everybody got interviews, but then some people got interviews. And so I can't speak to those at that program because I'm not in those programs, but definitely they state on their website whether you need like to go through an interview process or not. And so that's why I highly encourage you to go through the website and then like get to know if you need to be interviewed. But for Master of Public Policy, there is no interview. It's solely based off your essays. And so that's why you have to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So right, so maybe we should just focus on you also, and then hear about the essays. Do you have any idea on? Of course you do. You have an idea. You're even successfully selected, so I shouldn't be mentioning that. So can you highlight maybe some of the essays, and if you have everything, then you can just highlight the key points in those essays that the prospective applicants should not miss out, because this is always tricky, because there's an application talking about how is this scholarship going to help you in your career, and then you're talking about your leadership experience, and you are talking about volunteering there. So how do you think they should tackle these essay questions? And if you can
That's
just
me or to Mirabel.
no,
Sorry.
to you, Joyce, to you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I said earlier that first of all, don't answer it like an exam question where you give answers to the question. Go through a period of reflection, identify what you have done, identify what you want to be in future, identify the need you want to serve in your community or in your society. And so like in this period of reflection, take notes of like how to craft your story. I think the major tip I'll give is like tell a good story, because you may and tell a personal story. I don't know if I'm making sense. Tell a good story and tell a personal story. Let's say your motivation for applying to the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship, for instance, and how it will help you in your future or in your career goals, right? You may write a generic essay like, or you studied, let's say, business for your undergrad, and you want to become a policy analyst in future, blah blah blah, and so that's why you're motivated to apply for a scholarship to help you realize that dream. That is a good answer, because clearly that is what you want, but it's not personal. It doesn't serve a need, if I should say, for the community, because you should also realize that Mastercard is looking for like transformative leaders, right? And so even if you're answering like a question like why you want the scholarship and what is and how does it help you in your career goals, you should reflect on the need in society you want to serve or to help solve, and like craft a story that is personal. So maybe something you have experienced, something, if it's policy, let's say educational policy. I'm from Ghana, so I can talk to when educational policy is not like being helpful if I should say, in Ghana, and why I have gone through that system. I've seen the shortcomings of the system, and that motivates me to become a policy analyst in future. And so I need a scholarship to be able to like realize that dream and help my society or help my country. There's a difference between these two essays. One is more personal. One shows that you are a leader. One shows that you want to serve a need in the community. And one is generic. One is a bit selfish, right? And so in answering the essay questions, like make it personal, like tell a creative story, not a lie, but then what you want, frame it creatively and communicate that in very limited words. So it's between 250 to 350 words. So be concise, but highlight that. Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you so much for that detailed response. Yeah, so we have a couple of questions now. I think Bemileke, your hand is up. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? Briefly and concise, please. Thank you.
Sorry, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you for this. So, my question is, I went to the website and I saw that the focus this year, starting from this year, is on climate leaders. So, I just want to ask, is it like they are based on just people that probably have done something on climate? Because I even read that they're going to go to the climate leaders program when you're affected. So I want to know, is there anything that is based that, or is it done? If you know there anything related to climate, you're automatically like ineligible.
Yeah.
So that's my question. How do I go around that? Because I'm not doing anything like regarding climate. I don't even have interest in climate at all.
Okay. Is that to like a specific program, or you're talking in general about Mastercard Foundation
I
Scholarship?
think in general, it's the University of Edinburgh. I think
Okay,
no,
okay. Bimileke, sorry, let me cut it from there. Yeah, just like Mirabel said, so Joyce is studying masters in public, is it?
Policy at McGill
Yeah,
University.
at McGill University. So you can hold on. If you hold on for about 30 minutes, Mirabel is going to be talking about the University of Edinburgh. So you can just chill and yeah, just reserve all those heavy questions. Yeah, that question is very important. At the last webinar that I had with University of Cambridge guys and I think UC Berkeley, those key points were noted as well. And yes, it's something that Mastercard is looking out for. So your questions will be taken later. I hope that's cleared. All right. So if anyone is also having any question related to McGill or related to what Joyce have mentioned, please you should raise up your hand. Okay, now I have 4 hands up. All right. So let me go with Tiamiyu. Tiamiyu, do you want to unmute yourself?
Okay, thank you very much, Adele. So I'm applying for Mastercard. So I've started the ST already. So I see there's about 6 essays. So and I learned that those 6 essays they are just like the essay for fee waiver. Like after they granted the fee waiver, there are still going to be another essays or something like that. Is that so? And so that was my question.
Yeah, I'm not so sure of how it's going to be this year, but last year there were essays for the application, and once you get to the fee waiver and you progress to the next stage, there were supplementary essays as well. But comparing that to this year, we had just 3 essay questions last year, and then after the fee waiver, we got the 3 supplementary questions. But this year there are 6 questions, and so I don't know if there will be supplementary questions after the fee waiver, but I'm sure you should expect something of the sort.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Kozim. We're going to go to okay, Terence. I'm not sure if I pronounce your name well. Pardon me. Oh, I'm muted. All right. So, Terence, yeah, please, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
All right. Thank you so much, Dave Miku. And my question is going to Joyce. I want to know, for someone who has a degree in French, And maybe after then he had a certificate course in public leadership and policy from a School of Politics and Policy, and also had participated in politics. Going by this background and experiences, can such person be accepted into this your course, public policy at McGill? Thank you.
Yes. So once you get in, though the official language of teaching is in English, you can submit your assignment, you can submit everything in French if you so wish. I don't think the French will limit you in any way, because McGill is in Montreal, Montreal is in Quebec, and Quebec is a francophone province in Canada, and so French won't limit you. But so long as like you show proficiency in either English or French, yes, that's fine.
Okay, Terence, is your question answered?
Yes, very perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's go to Mary Rose, right? Cool. Mary Rose. Okay, Mary Rose is not available. Let's go to Daniel.
I'm here. Sorry. Thank you so much, Adeleke. Thank you, Joyce. I have a question, and it's related to the essays. I've written the essays, but I'm confused about one particular question. Please, what do they mean by transformative leadership capability or something? Do you mind throwing more light on it, please?
I mentioned earlier that Mastercard is looking for like leaders that can transform the continent of Africa, right? And so in your, let me try pulling up the essay. But can you read the full question so that I can like answer it properly? Can you read the full essay?
Oh, my system is actually off.
Okay. But I know.
Let me help.
All right, thank you.
Which transformative leadership skill and competency do you intend to develop if selected for this leadership?
Yeah. For Mastercard is looking for leaders to transform Africa, right? And in your program, I think you should identify like skills and competencies that can help you develop yourself to be able to achieve that. And so I can speak for public policy because I'm in public policy, right? Governance is public policy. And in order to be able to change Africa, I know leadership plays a very pivotal role in like transforming Africa to what we want it to be. So for applying to a program like Master of Public Policy, you can talk about public policy analysis. You can talk about like stakeholder management. You can talk to various like skills that can help you develop Africa or can help you transform Africa. A tip I'll give you is to go through like the program, right, and look at there is a schedule of like various courses you will take, right, and look at the various courses. Some of them are directly related to transformative leadership. I don't want to like present everything here because there wouldn't be any learning if I do that. But then I want you to take your time, go through the courses. I can speak to public policy because I'm in the program, but then I'm advising that even if you're applying to any other program, there are various courses that are tailored towards leadership. And so it may not be direct, but then once again, creativity. Even if you're doing something in like food science, you can creatively speak to like competencies you would develop that will help you develop yourself in terms of transformative leadership.
And I do want to add to what Joyce said. Literally, like
I was going to add to, but don't worry, Mela, you can go ahead.
Okay, yes. So transformative leadership is simply you doing something and then people are impacted by it and people are, you're influencing them. And you should also check out Mastercard Foundation's website, they also have a list of values like, and let's say curiosity or creation, co-creation, impact. So you can just list, how has your work in the past how have you co-created with someone else in the past? Or I do want to build more on my collaboration skills, which is part of one thing that makes a transformative leader. So this is something that I think when I take a course on public policy, I'll be able to learn to collaborate more with people and be much more humble. That's my addition.
Thank you so much, Mira. You're just on point. So we are going to oh my, we still have like 3 hands more. All right. So okay, we're just going to go with these 3 hands. I think other questions will come afterwards because I think Joyce wants to go for another schedule. So Daniel, do you want to ask your question right now?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Ademiku, and Mirabel. So I just have two questions quick. Okay, so the first question is around the deadline and all of that. So the deadline for Mastercard is December 1 for McGill. And on the website, generally, the deadline for McGill is, I think, January 15th. So I want to know, because after the filling and the fee waiver, there is another section that talks about the main personal statement for the school. So, like, how do we balance it? Like, how do we know the deadline for specific department? Because you mentioned the fact that for your department it's about 9 days or something. So I'm really having issue with that. Then secondly, I want to ask about a particular essay, question 25. Please summarize your current and past leadership experience, community involvement, or and volunteering engagement. So to answer that question, do we have to summarize a lot of things, or do we just have to pick a particular aspect of our experiences and develop on that? Like, how do we specifically answer the question to best fit for Mastercard? Thank you.
Sure. So for your leadership experience, I don't know you personally, but then definitely you can't write up all your experiences in 200 or 350 words. And so definitely you need to summarize them. You can't speak to all of them, but then look for the salient ones that are directly related to the program, not even the program, but to like something that is significant, if I should say, something
Related
that's
to the course you're applying for. Yeah.
and it should be significant. If I'm not going to throw shade on any activity, but then I'll just say that highlight the salient ones, highlight the ones that are related to your program,
Okay.
and highlight the ones that are related to the values of Mastercard.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
let me just go on, sorry.
No, I was going to answer the second question, but if you have something to add.
Okay, yeah. So about myself, I volunteered in so many places, worked with so many NGOs. So how I actually, because we had such questions also in our essays. So what I did was I said, from my 6 years experience in volunteering, and so I actually mentioned I combined all of these experiences in 6 years. So that's one thing. Quantify your application with numbers. That actually makes more sense. And if it's no numbers, you can say working with 50,000 NGOs. I know you can't work with 50,000 NGOs. All right, that's sideways. So working with maybe just use numbers. If you think you've worked with so many NGOs, so working with that shows that you've been doing so well. Then you now mention working with XYZ NGO. Within my 6 years experience, I have been able to tackle XYZ problem. Among all within these 6 years, I worked with. Then you can mention two or maybe one that has actually that you did a project that is related to that course you're studying, or maybe anything you've discussed in the previous essays. Then you now you develop well on those projects, your achievements in those projects, your role in those projects, your results in those projects. So I think that would be a very good way to answer that question. So Joyce, you wanted to answer the second question.
Yes. A second question is about the application dates. So I just did a quick search, and application deadline for MPP program is 15 January 2024. And you mentioned that the application deadline for the Mastercard program is 1st December. And so there is time between getting the fee waiver for Mastercard and actually finalizing your application for the MPP program. I don't know if this answers your question, or you have like a specific question regarding the deadlines. I don't think I got it clearly.
Yeah, Daniel.
Thank you. It's been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's go with Emmanuel. Then after Emmanuel, I'm up with Abbas, please. You're just going to reserve your questions or just drop it in the comment section, and I believe Joyce will answer that. All right, so Emmanuel.
Okay, my question that I wanted to ask, because for days I've been actually trying to figure this out. Outside the 6 essays that we actually write for Mastercard, I believe, or I don't know, I'm not sure, we are supposed to write one essay as well for the school, right? And if we are to write it, how would the nature of the essays be? Because I'm trying to like gather information. Because in the Mastercard essays, I think you more of like portray yourself and show that impact. Will you like still be directional in the impact when you in the essay that you are meant to submit for the school as well? Like including that we do this for your community, for Africa, all those things in the essay you are meant to submit for the school. That is one.
The second essay you're going to submit for the school is a statement of purpose, and it's the prompt for that is given in the link, and so it says your essay should explain why your background makes you an ideal candidate for the McGill MPP program, and how success in this program will enable you to achieve your professional goals. So this is not really tied into the MCF questions, but then you can use like some sentences from your MCF essays to like answer it. But then the MPP personal statement should be very competitive. And what do I mean by competitive? It shouldn't be like generic. It should be very personal. It should tell a story. I think there are so many resources online on how to write personal statements for like colleges abroad. And so you should look at that and try to make your essays like personal. It should highlight your experiences, your motivation, and how like getting admission into MaxPel will help you achieve your professional goals. Yeah. So while Ademico is doing that, I'll answer a quick question I see in the chat. Is it wise to apply for 2 schools and different courses under the Mastercard Foundation? Yes, apply to as many schools as are open. There is Cambridge, Oxford, UC Berkeley, Edinburgh, McGill, so many schools. Apply to all of them, as many as you can. Application is not easy, but please do that. MPP, there's no GRE requirement for that. I'll try and quickly go through the questions since I'll be going off the call. Emmanuel, did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, the follow-up questions. And because going through the MPP, that is Master and Public Policy, I noticed that they were so specific about the number of candidates they needed, which was 5. Because I would like, so that 5 is as stringent as it should be.
5. They won't take any more than 5. It's strictly 5 for Mastercard scholars in the MPP program. So it's very, very competitive. You can imagine there are thousands and thousands of people applying, and the majority of them are applying to the MPP program. And so that's why you have to like give the essays your best.
So we are just going to be taking McGill questions now. So yeah, and yeah, like Joyce have said, I can tell you, University of Edinburgh is the best place to apply to. I am telling you, you don't have to stress yourself about any application fee. It's 5 questions, 250 each, but it's very competitive as well. it's very competitive as well. So there's no stress about checking out. You just have to apply for the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship, and if you get in, then you have easy access to getting into the scholarship, to getting into the school. You don't need to worry about high LTS or any English proficiency, because if you get into the university, if you get the scholarship first, Mastercard is going to pay for your English proficiency test, and they are going to pay for your transport fare again, even if you have to go travel to go and do the English proficiency test. No worries, you just read the book and you come to University of Edinburgh. So, and we are going to be taking questions from more questions.
There's
So,
one that says, when can we expect to get fee waiver feedback from McGill University? I can't remember quite well, but I think it's between when the application ends and like January, and so that's when they'll send you the supplementary questions if they would send. So between December and January, expect that. And I'll give a general tip before I go off the call. So please like review your answers or your responses for not just the essays, but then like the fill-ins, because you can make some mistake, and once you make a mistake, even with your date of birth, they are out. So like take your time, go through every single like question, every single form you have to type, wherever. Make sure there is no mistake. Make sure they don't have a reason to disqualify your application, and give it your best.
Amokuton, please ask your question, please.
My question is on leadership and service essay, the one that talks about applicants' current idea of project. Please, I happen to be a volunteer with a non-government organization in Lagos. Then the project is in conjunction with a United Nations Environment Program. Can I cite United UNEP in the essay?
I think you should, so long as it's an experience you have, you can cite it.
Okay, thank you so much. That's my question.
You're welcome.
So yeah, without further ado, we're just going to be moving to Mirabel. So Mirabel, you're going to be talking about the essays, the essay questions, essay tips, and yeah, that's it. So how many essays, and if there are any essays that you should and the key points in those essays.
Yes, so if you have those specific questions you have around, oh, how do I answer number one, reflecting on your life so far, tell us how to meet the key criteria. So I'll be giving you practical examples on how to answer all of this. When it comes to, why you're the best fit for this particular course, the next session will also be answering how you should answer that question and practical examples.
And let me also mention that, yeah, some detailed questions are similar to the McGill question, and Mirabel is going to be talking more on those questions. So
especially for Edinburgh too as well, but also McGill in general, because the questions are pretty much similar.
Yeah.
A question might be, tell me about yourself. McGill might ask, tell me about yourself, and Edinburgh would ask, or tell us about your leadership experience. They're kind of both the same thing, so it's just wording that is different, but how you answer it is the same. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And moving on to the essay part. First of all, when you're writing your essays, please keep in mind it's only 250 words or maybe 350 words. For the University of Edinburgh, it's about 250 words in total for each question. And also with Edinburgh, you do not need to write another motivation letter once you get the scholarship to the university. There's something you want to say?
Nope.
Okay, I echoed.
Oh, it's all right.
So with the University of Edinburgh, you can simply use your same application answers to tweak it and cut a few things and send it as your University of Edinburgh's motivation letter. Is IELTS required during the process? Damilola, this question, if it's for McGill, I think Joy said it wasn't required. If it's for the University of Edinburgh, yes, we do. The university does require an English proficiency test, but that is only after you get the scholarship. It's nothing to bother about right now until you get it. And like Ademiko had said, if you do get the scholarship and you get an admission to the university, Mastercard Foundation would sort out your TOEFL for you, which means they would give you sessions and lessons, pay your fees for the TOEFL test, English test, and then you take them either at home or at a center, and it's very much sorted out for you. And so going over to the first question that you might probably see everywhere, you might see a question like reflecting, which is from my past essay. So reflecting on your life so far, tell us how you meet the key selection criteria for the scholars program. You should also include your academic achievements and barriers to education that you have faced. So this is an example of a question from Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at Edinburgh. First thing you should do when you see such questions like this is to highlight what are the keywords that were asked. Some of the keywords that we asked here was, one, how do you meet the key selection criteria? That's number one. Secondly, what are your academic achievements? Number two. And three, what barriers to education did you face? Now, all this question is just saying, reflecting on your life so far. Tell us about yourself. So picking these three key things, how do you meet the selection criteria? First thing that you can do, and also coming from my own past application example, was first thing I did was I drew from my background in school. So someone had asked if I studied French and I want to do public policy, can I still apply? I studied English and literary studies, and I had my master's, and I'm having my master's in business, the business school. So those are two different fractions. So what I did was that in my essay, I simply went back to my undergrad and explained that, I'm drawn to this particular course. I've been drawn to innovation and social entrepreneurship. Take note, the course I was applying for was entrepreneurship and innovation. So I went back and said I was drawn to how, media innovations and social entrepreneurship could change viewpoints. And then I talked about how I volunteered I went to the University of Calabar. So I talked about how I volunteered at the University of Calabar as a course rep. Yeah, it looks like a small thing to you, but it is something. Celebrate all your small and big wins. I talked about how I was course rep for entrepreneurship studies one, which was a vast course that it was a GSS course, a general course that every department took. So how I volunteered for that. I also talked about how I was in Enactus and how some of the projects that I worked on, how it was useful, the results, that the impact it had. Remember, they said, how do you meet, reflecting on your life so far, how do you meet the key selection criteria? So I've talked about what are the key selection criteria? One is that you have to have had transformational leadership experience. You are someone who gives back to the society. You check their website for more of that. So I use some of those to talk about how my volunteering experience and also the impact that I had while I was in school. And then when it came to your academic achievements, I talked about the extracurricular things I did, which was Enactus. And remember, I'm applying for a business-related field. So Enactus is also a business-related activity that you do in school. It also gives back to the community. Even if you're not applying for business, even if you're applying for a totally different course, it's something that gave back. It means you used your time in school to help other people out. Then the next thing I did was next key thing was, what barrier to education did I face? I talked about how my father, a certain commitment he made when he was very, very young, and how that translated to him also sending us to school, hoping for better life opportunities, and how me too, while he was able to give me that opportunity in life, I also translated that to giving other people those same opportunities through the work that I did with Blank Papers Media, which is my own initiative that I had started when I was in school. So a barrier to education for me was that there were so many ASU strikes that did not allow me to study well in school. So how can I be trying to study and ASU is striking? Where is the knowledge going? Holiday everywhere. So I talked about how that that break really affected my studies, and how also some of the work that I did, some of my lecturers were like they didn't really believe that I was doing entrepreneurship and social media and all the things that I was doing. So it was very discouraging to get such disappointing, feedback. Not everybody will support you. So I talked about that. And then that was how I was able to answer that, reflecting on your life. You don't have to answer, you don't have to list every single thing that happened in your life. I just pinpointed the key things the question asked, reflecting on my life. How do I meet the selection criteria? One, my academic barriers that I faced, number two, and then also the achievements that I had. And I've explained to you how that question was answered. So there's a strategy called
the situation, task, action, and result.
Exactly. So we use that when answering your questions, especially when I think it was Daniel or someone who asked the question around, do I list everything? No, just find one or two beautiful, perfect examples. The less it is, the better, because.
But sorry to go see. But don't actually swipe away all of those big things, and all of those big things were what I actually mentioned earlier. So you could just mention it, like, amidst my work within maybe 30 states in Nigeria, here is this one that is special. Then you can now develop more on that. So you've already told them that you have so much to say, but because you've limited me with words, I am just going to take this one that is special. So please let's take note of that. Yeah, you can go on, Mirabel.
Exactly. Simon, your question said you were interviewed, and can you make any major changes to your essay this year, since most of the essays are. Simon, that is really up to you. If there are major changes in your life, then yes, make mention of those changes that have happened over the past. You can also, one of the things I learned, it's not a one size fits all thing, but one of the things I learned in the past was when certain people apply for certain opportunities, they mention, hey, I had applied for this before, and these are the major changes that have happened in my life, and this is still why I'm looking forward to getting this opportunity. Daniel, I am at the University of Edinburgh, and yes, these answers can also be used cut across, whether you're applying for a scholarship for school or whether you're applying for a fellowship that is not a school fellowship. And the second question that could come out for you, if you have this question, or the question can come out in any form, like I said, be open-minded. Just look at how, and there's no one-size-fits-all answer to answering essay questions. These are just the patterns that I took. And while you can learn from them, learn from Hamed, learn from Joyce, and a lot of other application questions online, tie them down to your own personal situation and answer your questions. A second question that you can have is, we want to learn about your track record as a transformative leader. Tell us about one current idea or project that you are working on, which clearly demonstrates this. Now, this is a very, very important question. It's telling them, how are you a leader? How do you embody our vision? Why should we spend our money, our dollars, our pounds on you? How do I prove that you're worth it? And there's something I want to say. You don't have to feel like you need to have done big bizarre projects to get into the scholarships. You could have done something that was or you could have volunteered somewhere and impacted a number of people, but it was transformative enough. What I mean by transformative enough is that it had influence, a good positive impact on the people that applied. So a number of times people are scared to apply for these things because they feel, I've not done XYZ, or look at the people applying, look at the people that are getting the scholarship. They are big people. I'm not there. Who told you are not there? Did the people reviewing your application tell you are not there? Shoot your shot and celebrate all that. So when they say transformative leadership, what this, like I keep repeating, is look at transform and leadership. How have you transformed the life of some other person? And also always research a lot, read a lot. One of the things I did was that I went and collected, so someone reviewed my essay and he kept reviewing it 100, and I was so shocked that how do you keep expecting me to, I've written the best and you are still telling me to change this and change this and change that. So it just shows, like Ade and Joy said, having an extra eye can be a good thing. But I also have a flatmate who nobody reviewed her essay, and she got in straight up and she applied it like a few days before the thing.
Nobody reviewed mine too, and I submitted 2 days before deadline.
Me, that I was spending nights and weeks and days. Everybody's different in this thing.
Yeah.
But back to transformative leadership, it just simply means what I said. And so, talking about your track record in the past, what you should do is go to the website of maybe the particular course you're about to take. What are the values and missions that they have? And also Mastercard, what are some of Mastercard's values and missions, and how can these missions tie into the work that I've done? A way to answer your track record question is, one, you can use statistics here. So I talked about statistics from the media industry, which is my primary focus, even if I'm in the business school. I talked about the media industry, and then I talked about statistics from there. And then I tied these statistics into the work that I did with Blank Papers Media since I was 17. Like I said, Blank Papers is an initiative I started to help a lot of young people learn how to tell their stories and learn communications, especially as young change makers. So I talked about how it tied into the work that I did. And then I talked about a lot of numbers, which, like Ade mentioned, because some of these questions will give you a chance to highlight almost all your achievements. So I used different experiences for different questions. Experience number one, I use it for the first question. Experience number two, I use it for the second question, so that there'll be enough space for me to tell you all the amazing things I think I've done, rather than joining it into one. Then I mentioned numbers. I talked about how the fund that we've created has directly trained over 200 people in Calabar, West Africa. How as of then we had how we had also trained people on leadership skills to boost their employment, problem solving, and entrepreneurial opportunities. Look at these keywords: employment, problem solving, and entrepreneurial opportunities. I even went to Mastercard Foundation's website and looked at their keywords. Yeah. In Nigeria, one of the key areas for Mastercard Foundation is the creative industry.
Please, let's take note of that. Go to the Mastercard scholarship page and your course page as well. Please continue, Mirabel.
Thank you, Ade. Yes, read everything you can read. Find everything you can read. There's nothing is hidden at all. So I went there, picked out that they are very interested in employment, even beyond their scholarship. Mastercard programs are very interested. Mastercard Foundation programs are very interested in skill acquisition in Africa and employment of people. So I talked about how me too, the small money that I have I'm using it to help people build entrepreneurial skills. And I'm also going to do a business course. Well, same thing with you. If you're going to do a public policy course or a agricultural course, talk about how, and remember, they are also focused on sustainability. So talk about how this small outreach I did, you don't need to mention that it's small, but how this outreach that I did, and don't lie about your numbers either, but how this outreach that I did impacted this and so farmers, or this, and then it tied back into your course. So that's how I explained how I was a transformative leader. So the same thing they said, the STAR approach. What was the situation? I used a statistics and gave the situation. What was the task? I talked about how my organization, Blank Papers Media, came up to the task. What were the actions? I talked about the scholarships we were giving, the trainings we were doing, and what were the results. That was my time to even mention more numbers. That we built the platform to have over 120 writers, etc. And that was how I explained That is also how you can explain your track record. Now, take note, for me personally, I use just one example of the work that I did because the question specifically said using one example. So yours might be different, might just say talk about your track record. So you can use one or two examples, and like Ade said, you can also just find somewhere and chip in addition to this, very briefly, other things that I did. Now, moving quickly on to the next question that you might get. Now, this one, they've just been asking you questions about your personal life. This one is now, how do you fit into the course? So the next question you might find, which might not be exactly like this, but it would be something similar, is, Mastercard Foundation scholarships aim to give we aim to award Mastercard Foundation scholarship to individuals who will most benefit from the opportunity. How would being a Mastercard Foundation scholar support your development personally and professionally? Very important, because a lot of people tend to keep writing only professionally, but Mastercard Foundation is very keen about your personal life too, because this is how transformative leadership happens. You become a better person. Your mother, your father, your sister becomes a better person too for that. Your neighbors, your immediate community become better people for that. And it's like a ripple effect. So you can't deny that when you become Dangote, is your family not going to, gain from that? So it's a transformative thing. You are not just going to skip your family and go and help people. Start first. What did they say? Is it kindness or something? Charity begins at home. So, so how can Mastercard scholars support you personally and professionally? Another tactic I used was I hit them with the quotes. I've been looking for my different tactics. I say all these questions, one tactic or the other, you must enter all of them. So I started with a quote from a very powerful entrepreneur in Africa. And now also take note that Mastercard Foundation is very, you must give back, you should give back, and they are talking about Africa a lot. So make sure that whatever you're saying, and you too genuinely be passionate about your community and Africa, in as much as you want to do global things, but your community needs you the most too. So I started with a quote, then I talked about like my professional working experience. And this was where I listed working with the Social Enterprise World Forum, as well as also working with Blank Papers Media. And I just talked about like some of the pain points I had realized, I had seen, and I talked about some of my long-term visions, both professionally, but I listed just one or two long-term visions that I had for myself. And because there was no space, I just said the long-term professional vision is interlinked with my personal vision. That is how I put it too, that it is interlinked. So they both go hand in hand because of space. Think smart. You cannot only list everything, so think smart how you word your English. That was how I answered that question, and I talked about a genuine project that I actually wanted to work on with Blank Papers Media. I listed it, I mentioned it here, talked about how I think it would impact people, and most important, I talked about my weaknesses, because the reason why I'm doing my master's is that I actually have knowledge gaps. It took me about 4 years before I decided to do a master's. So I genuinely had knowledge gaps that I wanted to fill. So I talked about how the course I was going to study would fill those knowledge gaps for me, and how this is important for the future ambition that I have. And then personally, because the Mastercard, I read so much from their website as well. So you can also include how that community, Mastercard, unlike any other scholarship, there's a huge community. They're very huge on community and interpersonal relationship. There's something called is it pastoral support, where rather than just supporting your education, they're also supporting your well-being personally. That's something Mastercard is very, very huge. Mastercard Foundation is very huge on that, making sure that your well-being is okay. So I talked about how I would love that. This journey, easy. It's not easy. you know, and I did want to be supported by a community of people who, being there, done that, we are all going through this scenario together. So, like, let's all support each other. I didn't use scenario in my application, but for the purpose of humor, something like that is what I added to the application. And when you're also writing your own application, you can also just state similar as that as well. And also your context is different, so write your own context. And the next question is also about, a question you might find is, please explain how the degree program you have chosen to study here relates to your future goals. And the final question will be around how sustainability, inclusion, which might answer, Bemileke, your question will be the last thing, the question you asked before will be one of the last essay questions. But explain how, the degree you want to study, how does it relate to your future goals? Every single question you're answering is interlinked to the other. And even if in any application you're answering, make sure that the next question links back to the previous answer you had given. So to answer how I think that the master's program would help me out and how it would help you out, what I did was I still linked it back to the reports that I gave in the other questions and said, hey, see this report, I'm very serious about this thing that I said I want to, this future vision I have. So yes, building community, it is the last question. I'm very serious about this thing. So if I'm going with this, why I'm choosing this course is because, as a prospective, candidate, after giving the stats, what you can do that's also very powerful is, it's a master's program. It's research you'll be doing. What kind of research do you think you want to be doing? At least know this ahead of time. So I went to the course website. I looked for the professors that I thought. I was very deliberate about my master's. I'm not doing this because it's the next best step to take. It's because it's the next best step to take, actually. And there's another purpose. There's like other things I really want, like knowledge gaps. So I said, this professor is teaching about digital innovations. And I looked at some of their abstracts and some of their papers. I said, I like this person. This person teaches me, good. So I looked at, different professors and some of the tactics, some of the research that they have done. And I will tell you why this is very important. I did it at the start. So then I included in my essay that, some of these professors as well, that I was also keen to learn from, like some of their research on social informatics, let's say Professor like now Pollock and Jordana, that they talked about crowdfunding, how crowdfunding helps businesses, and as the second pitch, me too, I'm looking for money. Crowdfunding will help my life. So I mentioned it so that these people, if I take their courses, and also some of the courses listed, these are the key information that can help me get to that vision and mission, that future aspiration that I wanted. So you can link this back, like this kind of research you've done, link it back to your answers. And for the very final, then also, please don't be late. One of the things one of my very secrets, this one you are hearing it live and direct. This one,
I'm seeing Bemileke's comment. Sorry about that. All of these things in 250 words.
Bemileke, I studied English and literature. I'm a writer from birth. We know how to write.
That's why it's actually important. There was, sorry to cut in, Mirabel. So there was this essay that I wrote 250 words twice. So I was like, this one is okay. This one is okay. I was like, okay, which one? I can't combine the two of them. So I just needed just one. So that was the only thing I can say. I consulted a friend. I think it's on this call. Yeah, it's on this call. So I consulted a friend to ask him which one best fits within these two essays. All right. So that's one thing. You might ask clarity from people. All right. So that's very interesting. So all of these keywords, you don't need to tell stories. Instead of saying, I used to go to, just say going to. That's simple. You've minimized a whole lot of words. So going to is different from I used to go to, So you just need to learn it. You just need to learn it. Yeah, Mirabel, go ahead, please.
Yeah, and yes, my tactic was this. I wrote, "Hi, Victory." My tactic was this. I wrote probably like 1,000 words, 700 words, same with you in my first draft. I just wrote everything as it was. Let me just pour it out. Then, after getting out that first draft of, let's say, 600 words, 1,000 words to answer one question, then I began to cut it down to 350 words, no, 500 words, then 400 words, 300 words. It's not easy. It was not easy at all. Then I did not do this essay alone. I had support of three amazing people, So I'm not even claiming any, like, I did it on my own. While yes, I cut my essays down to 250 words, what they did for me was they told me, oh, we think that they know me, they knew me so well. So they said, Mirabel, they even reminded me, are you not the one that did this particular project? Why not add it here? Add it in which space? So, they were the ones who had, like, gave me feedback. Actually, just two of them ended up giving me feedback. I think 2.5, because the third person was very busy. But one person majorly really supported the whole thing. So that was how I did this. And three people, because maybe over a year ago, I've been telling them right from start, please, when it's time for me, I beg, find time. And it's not an entitlement thing. When, if they were not available, I would have just really done my essay on my own. But these are friends, like, we are like this. So not random strangers. So people that I, and even if they weren't going to edit, they didn't edit. It was just giving me pointers, and one person really, like, went through my essay back and forth. So that's how I did it. I wrote a long answer first, many long answers, and it took me a long while personally, because that's the way I work. Some people can answer things in one day. I needed time, like 2-3 weeks to actually formulate my answers.
Sorry, let me just chip in that you don't want to do your essays in just one day. Forget that you're an expert. I've been writing. All right, my friends are here. You don't want to do it in one day. Someone was supposed to review my essay, one of the past scholar, and I messaged her on LinkedIn just like everyone does. And she was like, okay, send your email. I told her, okay, within 2 weeks, I'll get this done and I'll send it to you. Dude, I didn't finish my essays until after 3 weeks. And in fact, there was a time that I already completed all the essays, and when I watched some YouTube videos, I just had to scrap all that I've written and started out fresh. So please don't even think it's something you can work on one day. So please and please, all right? So go ahead, Mira. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And for the very last question around community, and your questions might change, your questions might change. Your questions now might be around sustainability. Even if you haven't done work in the past in sustainability, kind of diminish it down to there are so many different courses. So if, you can talk about how, for example, if you're going to apply for a course in environmental planet, and you don't have any sustainability experience, then I don't think you should be applying for that. Except you're applying for a course in music, which is no course in music, but you're applying for a totally different course that doesn't really super require you to have that sustainability aspect of things. Then you can then say, okay, that this is what I've done, and I hope that with the scholarship I'll actually learn more how to make this work and be more sustainable. And
yeah, sorry, let me cut in there. So when we're talking about climate, it's very important to please and please, if you are working on anything related to climate action, please include it. It might not be the major topic. In fact, I wouldn't say you should push it as your major topic. So you can be working on it directly or indirectly. The only aspect I've talked about the climate action, and I actually saw it on the Mastercard programs page. So they're looking forward to solving climate change too, and working with transformative leaders. So these keywords, the people that they are looking for, are things that you should always include. no matter how little it can. I organized a project in the northern part of Nigeria, and what one project that I created was just supplying them with basic amenities, farm amenities like fertilizers, and I actually taught them on how to actually use these farm tools and the farm amenities. So this was the only project. This was the only project that was related to climate change. And I just mentioned it that these projects that I have created helped them to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. And yes, that was it. So please and please, and note, this project is, I led the project as well. So I was able to connect the leadership aspect with the project, with the climate. So everything all joined together. So it's important. So you might be working on it. You might not be like a climate sustainability champion going out there raising placard or packing plastics. I think many people are even involved in all these um, environmental health now, that you pick plastics, or maybe you join any NGO that is working on cleanliness. All of these things still works indirectly to the climate action as well. So because you don't want a population of you don't want a land mass or arable land that is filled with detriment from plastic waste, which can indirectly actually affect the climate. So just mention that, check out direct impacts of climate, or what you're doing, or the indirect impacts. Yeah, so that's it. Go on, please, Mirabel. Pardon me.
It's a very good point. And I just want to say that every single thing I'm saying here, please just take note of this, because a good number of people right now might be reaching out to say, please review my application for me. Your application date does not fall in good line with a schedule of things at this moment in life. So while that might not be humanly possible for a good number of reasons, please take note of a lot of things that we've said here. And there are so many people like Ahmed Kayode who his video we used and came into the school. Those are the answers. So the last question for us for my time was around inclusion, which I think was for Mastercard in the first phase of the program was concerned about inclusion and sustainability, but it was mostly about inclusion, I would assume. So while that was it, I simply talked about, you can talk about how the projects you've done, I think many of the projects done in Nigeria, Ghana, West Africa are really inclusive. So I don't think you would have any, even if you volunteered for someone, I don't think you would have any issues with inclusion topics. So talk about that. I piggyback on what Ademiku said. Same thing if you did for sustainability and climate, which might probably be a question that you would get asked. So use Ademiku's advice and apply for that. And to be very honest, I think I've given I just let you into my entire application right now.
Seriously, Mirabel, thank you so much. In fact, I saw people actually even highlighting it in the comments, and yeah, your thoughts are valid. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You really deep more on the applications. So yeah, without further ado, I think we'll just move into the questions and answer session. Okay, Mary Rose.
Thank you so much, Mirabel. Thank you, Adeleye. Thank you so much. But I want to still ask, based on that transformative leadership stuff, must it be only geared towards the program that you are doing? Or should we talk about both the program, like the one geared towards the program, and also life in general?
All right, so whatever transformative leadership project you're working on, it's not necessarily, it shouldn't, or it's not compulsory. If you have one that is in alignment with your course of study, fine. There are some people that are studying data science and equality, and they are working on refugee, they are working with. So how does data analysis? Of course, you can connect them because you can definitely say, if I learn on data, I will be able to actually utilize. You can even connect it, I believe so. Or you can say you want to go into the leadership space of your career. Do you get? So working on this aspect will help you, and getting Mastercard Foundation Scholarship will help you get more leadership, and maybe connect you with the right persons in your career, in your field. Do you get? So just write about the ones that are very tangible, that are contributing to to that are impacting lives positively. But if you have some that are related to your work, please, why not? Feel free to mention it, so that it can align very well. So, and then you can mention others too. So, but tell them that okay, this one will, which you can just mention that okay, that one that is not related to your field. I'm not saying you should say this one that is not related to your field though. So you can just say will help you improve in your leadership experience, and um, connect you with like-minded or top tier leaders in your career of study, on your course of study rather. All right. So I hope that answers your question. So any other question, Abbas?
Oh,
Does
thank
that answer
you.
your
Thank you very
question?
much.
Oh,
My question is just simple and direct. The first is this. I saw in the first point of the essay where it is stated clearly, although for me, I've drafted the sixth essay, but I really needed some clarifications for, as for me to improve them. So the first one is it was stated that female applicants, those that come in from the refugee or displaced, are actually encouraged to apply. And I want to have a clarification in that regard that what of the case, particularly from my experience, I lived in the slum, growing up in the slum, and I also faced the similar challenges anybody who could become from a refugee or a displaced community could face. So I want to ask if that qualified me by chance, or can I still relate such case in relating my essay? Because in my introduction at that essay, after mentioning what I would mention there, I later now typed down that I had a similar experience which made me live as a refugee in a place I should probably call home. So that's my first question. I don't know. I have them like two or three. Should I be saying them? Or the first question will be first answered?
I
Say the
think
next one.
Okay, thank you.
okay.
15 minutes to. The second question is this. Regarding I learned that it is a very important tool when writing an essay, why you should have the central theme. And understanding Mastercard, I've applied for African International Development Studies at the University of Edinburgh. So I learned that it is important you have a theme for your essay. So personally, I am working to a particular NGO I created, the Climate Club Africa. So I actually
Can
have
you skip to the question? Just
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
the question. So I want to ask that because there was a particular question at the final essay where they asked us that we should create a particular experience on climate. And due to the fact that majority of my work, my leadership and track record has also been on climate, I've extensively discussed it there. So upon that part, it was not like and it was me talking about flooding issues. So I want to be sure that can I still retain a similar idea under that example for the last lesson, since I already discussed something relating to climate in my track record, or I could just dive a bit to some of the things I plan on doing. So those are the clarifications. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, first to Bemileke. Bemileke, most of the courses are on environmental things. So what you're applying for, if you're applying for an environmental course, I feel like Academico has answered this question in a way. If you're applying for an environmental course, do you already have past experience in that, or is it something that you want to delve into? If it's something that you want to delve into, perhaps just talk about why you want to delve into that, and how that climate issue is affecting your community and what you've seen, and that's why you want to delve into it. And any experience you've had at all in any climate program should be something that you highlight. And if you have further questions, you can email Mastercard Foundation Scholar, because a requirement is a requirement. Um, That's the most I can say at this point. I think Ademiko might have something to add. And Abbas, they did not say that you cannot apply. There is no discrimination to that. See Ademiko now is here with us. So there's no discrimination to who can apply. It's just preferences given to these particular people when they apply. But yes, do go ahead and apply. And thirdly, there's no one size fits all application answer for everything, Abbas. So yes, I do advocate for having a theme in your essay. Make sure everything coherence. Mary, same thing with you, coherence. All your answers should link to the next one. Let there be coherence, even if you're answering with a totally different project. But still, there should be coherence. So you can go ahead and mention that, yeah, you lived in Oworo or a slum. Ahmed Kayode Alabi is a perfect example of a scholar who moved slum to slum in Lagos. And if you did have a project on flooding, yes, you can include that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mira. So let's go for Kazim. So please go straight to your point. Just in 1 minute, go straight to your question. All right. Abbas, you can lower you. Okay, just let me help you out. All right. So Kazim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, I'm not going, and thank you, Mirabel. So, I think the second to the last question, the question is talking about the track record leadership. So they are saying that, because me personally, I've worked on projects. So like, it's like the project I've finished. So is it that the project must be something that I'm currently working on, or can I talk about something I've done, like I've done in the past as a past project? Or it's more something I'm currently on working on is like a present project. So I want to be clear about that. Because if you was studying the question is like saying which idea are you currently working on? And is it going must it be an idea that you have started doing something? Because sometimes I may just have an idea of starting this project, but I've not actually start it. So I want a clarification about that. Thank you very much.
Kazim, well, it was also good to pay attention to instructions. So if they say something you're currently working on, well, it's a very tricky question you asked me, and I don't think I have the right answer. But if they said something you're working on, then let it be something you're working on. If they say an idea, I don't know at what phase of your idea should be at, whether just in ideation phase or physical phase. So Adele,
yeah. Let me help Kazim out. So yeah, as regards that something you're working on, yes, please mention the idea you're working on, but don't paint it as an idea. Don't mention that it's an idea. So what you can trickily do is that if you have similar projects you've worked on previously, mention it, and you're currently working on or looking forward to, do you get, extending this to, do you get my point now? So you've worked on this project in one organization like that, and you're looking forward to extending this project to this XYZ community. So it's already an idea. You can say tomorrow, I want to initiate that project. I want to do this and that. Do you get me? So yeah, that's very important. So that shouldn't catch you off guard. All right. So I hope I explained that clearly. Does that answer
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. So Lillian, please.
Thank you so much for the sessions. I think this might have been covered, but because of context issues, I'm from Kenya. So I just wanted to ask for transformational leadership. Some of the work that I've done is literally under my job description, under employment. It's not my company, but job description under my employment. Do you think that will be good to be added under transformational leadership? Will it hold a lot of water, or I should look into other volunteer opportunities that were not tied to my contractual duties? Thank you.
well, you gave your 9 to 5 to working with somebody, so come on, that's a lot of time. So yes, you should add that to your thing, and I think a good number of my colleagues as well also. The things I applied for were either firms they had worked with. Every experience counts. That's what I can say.
I think we are all done. It's all cleared, and we are going to be ending this session now. Thank you guys for joining. I don't want to promise anytime soon because I need to edit this video before posting it on YouTube. and it's tedious. If you want to help out, please feel free to reach out to me. If you are good at video editing, then you can make this easy for every other person out there as well. So thank you so much, guys, for joining this call.
I think
And
Daniel they have a question about can we reference link in our essay? Yes, in my essay, in my essay, yes, I highlighted. I think I just linked one thing or so.
that's an hyperlink, not
Yeah,
that
like hyperlink. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. All right, I didn't do any hyperlink. I didn't. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Yeah, so thank you so much, guys. So, like I said, if you are willing to help out into just editing, the editing isn't much, just cutting out some repetition, some pauses, and all, and that's it. I would be. Yeah, I'm not sure hyperlink will work, or would it? Hyperlink can work, just like she said. If you want to, yeah,
Yeah, someone would click
if
on
you
it.
want to, it's not compulsory, all right? If you want to, just do it. So take care, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mirabel and Joyce in absence. Thank you so much, guys, for helping out in this application review process. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the University of Edinburgh or sharing that you've gotten to McGill next year. Yeah, so bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone.